Welcome to the Early Dew. It's your girl, a messenger with a smile, and we're reading Numbers chapter 21. I am reading from the Amplified, let's see, hold on, getting notifications, Classic Edition today. Because this one kind of jumps, and because it has a little history in it, so I find that with the names and different things, it has. If you read the Amplified Classic Edition on your Bible app, you will see how it has words, stuff in parentheses that helps without adding to and taking away from the truth in the text. So, we're going to jump in. Numbers, the book of Numbers, chapter 21, verse 1. When the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwelt in the south, the Negev is which is in parentheses, heard that Israel was coming by the way of Atharium, the route traveled by the spies sent out by Moses, he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. So, verse 2, Israel vowed a vow to the Lord and said, "If you will indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities." And the Lord hearkened to Israel and gave over the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities, and the name of the place was called Hamorah, a banned or devoted thing. And they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way, it was probably Or, but Mount Or by the way of the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom. And the people became impatient, depressed, and much discouraged because of the trials of the way. And the people spoke against God and against Moses. And they asked, "Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water. And we loathe this light, contemptible, unsubstantial manna," which is bread from heaven. That's what they just said. Verse 6. Then the Lord sent fiery, burning serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many Israelites died. And the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he may take away the serpents from us." So Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said to Moses, "Make a fiery serpent of bronze and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live." And Moses made a serpent of bronze and put it on the pole. And if a serpent had bitten any man, when he looked to the serpent of bronze, attentively, expectantly, with a steady and absorbing gaze, he lived. And the Israelites journeyed on and encamped at Oboth. So this is where it gets real tricky, but with the words and the journey and the history. But wasn't that first part like jaw-dropping? Verse 11. They journeyed from Oboth and encamped at Labarium in the wilderness opposite Moab toward the sunrise, or the east. From there, they journeyed and encamped in the valley of Zarad. From there, they journeyed and encamped on the other side of the river Arnon, which is in the desert or wilderness that extends from the front of the Amorites. For the river of Arnon is the boundary of Moab. So it's between Moab and the Amorites. That is why it is said in the book of the Wars of the Lord, which is a book that I've come to know has been destroyed. But there's a book called the Wars of the Lord, Wayab and Sabha, and the valleys of the branches of the Arnon River, the slope of the valleys that stretch toward the site of Ar and find support on the border of Moab. So that you'll find these places in that book if we ever come across it again. Verse 16. From there the Israelites went on to Beer, a well, the well of which the Lord has said to Moses, "Assemble the people together, and I will give them water." Then Israel sang this song, "Spring up, O well, let all sing to it." And it references two scriptures here, and I'll put that in the description at the end. In verse 18, the fountain that the princes opened, that the nobles of the people hollowed out from their staves, and from the wilderness or desert Israel journeyed to Matana, and from Matana to Nathaliel, and from Nathaliel to Bamoth, and from Bamoth to the valley that is the field of Moab, to the top of Pisgah, which looks down upon Jeshimon and the desert. And I stumble through these words, like I've said before, of these names of these cities, because I don't allow not knowing exactly how to say these to stop me from reading what I call this book the love letter. And so we're continuing on to verse 21. So if you're stumbling, you're not the only one. Be encouraged. You can still get what there is to get from this love letter without knowing exactly how to pronounce these words. Verse 21. And Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, let me pass through your land, and we will not turn aside into field or vineyard. We will not drink the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway until we have passed your border. But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his border. Instead, Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel unto the wilderness, and came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. And Israel smote the king of the Amorites with the edge of the sword, and possessed his land from the river Arnon to the river Jabbok, as far as the Amorites, for the boundary of the Amorites was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and dwelt in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon and in all its towns. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, as far as the river Arnon. That is why those who sing ballads say, come to Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and established. For fire has gone out from Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It has devoured Er of Moab, and the lords of the heights of Arnon. Verse 29, woe to you, Moab! You are undone, O people of the little god Chemosh. Moab has given his sons as fugitives, and his daughters into captivity to Sihon, king of the Amorites. We have shot them down. Heshbon has perished as far as Gibeon, and we have laid them waste as far as Nepoah, which resembles Medeba. So that's the story of how Sihon overtook Moab. So verse 31, thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites. And Moses sent to spy out Jazer, and they took its village and dispossessed the Amorites who were there. Then they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, went out against them, he and all his people, to battle at Rel. But the Lord said to Moses, do not fear him, for I have delivered him and all his people and his land into your hand, and you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon. So the Israelites slew Og and his sons and all his people until there was not one left alive, and they possessed his land. So that is the story. As they were traveling on, they're trying to get to their journey, through their journey, and these kings in these cities were not letting them. And they promised that if the Most High would let them win, that they would destroy all their cities. And I've heard a lot of people really, and I only got one more minute left because I try not to go over 10 minutes, but I heard a lot of people angry about hearing that the Most High would tell people to, destroy lands and things of this nature. But that was kind of the way it was back then. Not kind of, it was. As you saw, Sihon took over Moab. And so he pretty much got back what he did when we came. And all he had to do was let us come through. But he didn't want to. Instead, he wanted to kill us. It's very different. But I have a feeling, very different than what we know. But I have a feeling that it's something that we're going to start to really get more experience with in the news especially, but in this world as a whole. I hope it blessed you. It definitely blessed me. Don't sin against the Lord the way our people did before. It ain't worth it. I love you all. Peace.